This is Eric Brotman, the host of Don't Retire, Graduate, a podcast that asks you what you want to be when you grow up so you can graduate into retirement with a purpose and a passion. Welcome to our Diary of a Financial Advisor segment, where we interview financial advisors about their professional journeys and their passion for helping others succeed. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Kobe Bolanos. Kobe joined BFG Financial Advisors in August 2021, so almost 4 years now. As an investment operations associate, he transitioned to the advisory team in 2022. He works with lead advisors to develop and update clients' financial plans, to prepare for client meetings, and he's embodied our mission of spreading financial literacy. He's passionate about helping families gain the knowledge and resources they need to encourage quality financial decisions for generation, and excited to work with a team that puts education first, both for clients and for employees. Kobe's a lifetime learner waiting to happen. He looks forward to learning from his colleagues and bringing about positive change in the lives of his clients. Kobe, welcome to Don't Retire, Graduate, Diary of a Financial Advisor.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I remember when we first met. We first met because of your days at Stevenson University. Mm-hmm. And BFG and Stevenson have had a long relationship. We've been sponsors and partners and supporters of Stevenson for a long time. And you were in a competitive job situation back at that point. You had a couple of different offers on the table and decided to join our team. Can you talk a little bit about what made that decision for you at the time?
Yeah, at the time, I previously worked in corporate finance, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I figured out kind of quickly that corporate finance wasn't really for me. And this was during the COVID period when, everyone was investing. There were so many resources out there. So I kind of got into the investing like everyone else did. And then I saw resources, and I actually read Don't Retire, Graduate. And I would say at this point, 90% of it was over my head. Going into sophomore, junior, and senior, I was so overwhelmed. I thought investing was kind of just throwing money in the market and going from there. So then, through our previous interactions together as well, Manny being here as well, we kind of made the decision pretty easy to just kind of lean in on BFG. Closer to home, the other opportunity was a little bit further away in Texas, so I would have been, really far away from my family. So I just felt that this was the right place for me.
Well, we're glad you made that decision. Manny spoke very highly of you, and he's the one who stuck his neck out for you. So if this had gone wrong for you, it would have gone wrong for him too. He's on record. He knows that stuff. So financial advising, was this something you wanted to do when you were a kid? You had some interest in investments and finance, but was financial planning something that you really considered as a career?
To be honest, no, it wasn't. And that's because I didn't really know what it was. And like I said, when I read the book, I still didn't really know what it was. I thought it was, like I said, just what was in the market. And then I realized there's so many other avenues that go into it. And I thought, I enjoy helping people. I was always involved in my community back home, involved at Stevenson as well, just being in the community. And I just wanted to kind of give back in whatever way I can. So that's kind of where the financial planning kind of came along. Talked to Manny, kind of what he was doing in his job. And I thought, long term, this could be something that I could really, enjoy.
So at BFG, we do what is functionally an apprenticeship. And I don't think a lot of people realize that one of the things that makes us a little different is that we don't hire people and tell them, call 100 of your friends and sell them something. That is just not our way of doing business. Mm-hmm. And so instead, there's a period that's generally close to 5 years before folks are front and center with client relationships they're managing on their own. And you're pushing up against that 4-year mark. So, you're seeing the finish line. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. You did investment operations. You did some of the associate work, some of the prep work, and now you're in client meetings on a day-to-day basis. How has that changed your perspective, if at all, on what we do?
Just being involved in kind of every point in the process, being in investment ops, being on the prep side, now being in all the meetings, with the advisors, it's really cool to see how it all plays into one. Being in investment ops, I kind of focused on what that was. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of just following instructions. So now that I'm giving the instructions, working with the team to execute that, it's really cool to see how everyone's point in the puzzle really affects the clients. And I think it's great.
So most financial firms have a dozen or so advisors and like 2 assistants. Mm-hmm. And so the advisors have to do almost everything on their own. I mean, that really is the way. And we sort of flipped that script a little bit, where we have an enormous amount of support so advisors can do their highest and best use, which is advising. And you're now working with something like 150 families as one of the 2 advisors in the sessions. What have you learned from this experience? Is it, and I don't mean quantifiably, I mean qualitatively, what have you learned regarding the emotional and behavioral aspect of finance, which ultimately I think plays a bigger role in success than the numbers?
I've kind of learned that everyone is different. Some people, they have X goals and they really want to see that happen. Some people, they have a really simplistic lifestyle and something as just getting their kids to college. If they do that, then they're absolutely fine. And every situation is different. And I think that's what kind of brings the joy to it. There's not a cookie cutter way of just doing a financial plan. And, every client that comes into BFG, we all look at it as a team, and it's super cool to see how everyone's plan differs and just a little tweaks and whatnot. I really enjoy that part of it.
So we boast, among other things at the firm, we boast an educational focus. And actually, you put it front and center in your own personal bio that was important to you. What academic or educational path do you see yourself potentially following moving forward here? Because this is a continuum of learning, not a license and forget it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think going down the estate planning route is something that I'm really passionate about. I see it's an area it's super important and it's very neglected. We work with some people who are super high earners, and this is something that, if everything that's going on in the world, that's the last thing they kind of think of. And it could be the most important one, honestly. And it's something that's so simple when you just connect with the right people. So I really want to emphasis on that and just kind of bring that to the floor and really help people in my community for that as well.
So you've joined a couple of associations and organizations during your brief career, and you're using those not only to build your network but to build your knowledge base and to credential. Talk a little bit about the organizations you've joined as a part of this process.
Yeah. So I just recently joined the Baltimore Estate Planning Council to kind of further my estate planning knowledge. Kind of building my own network. Being on the younger side in the industry, there's not too many people that I can really lean on. So I felt this was a good way to kind of build my network from the ground up. I know, when you go to these things, you have so many connections that you've been with for X amount of years. So I want to kind of do the same with people that are coming into the industry. And then also Quad A, which is the African American Association of Financial Advisors. Aside from Manny, who sits right across from me, I didn't know anyone in the industry prior to that kind of looked like me. And then I started to go into some other events and whatnot. And I was able to really connect with people that way. So it's really cool to just see that there are other people that do look like me, kind of go through the same things, and they really want to impact the community, which is ultimately what I want to do as well.
I remember when we took you to your first large industry conference, and I warned you because there was no other way to put it. Mm-hmm. I warned you that, and Manny was with you actually, but I said the two of you might be outliers in a room of 800. Mm-hmm. And while it wasn't 798 to 2, it was real close to that. Can you talk about sort of what that felt like and whether you saw that as being daunting or opportunistic or all of the above?
I would say it's daunting and opportunistic at the same time. Kind of where I grew up, I was one of few. I was the only, so it's not something that it's new to, but when you go into an environment and you're on the younger side and you don't have necessarily as much knowledge as everyone else in the room, it is kind of daunting. But I remember when we first walked in, there was a couple other people that were there that, kind of looked like us, and they made it a point to come up and say like, hello, this is my name is this. And it really kind of eased the nerves of being at a large conference like that. Cause that was the first time, I was really out of the office.
So your future is obscenely bright. You're on this bus, and we see you on this bus for a lifetime. But I got to ask you, because you are a young man, what do you want to be when you grow up? What does that look like?
If there was one way I could sum it up, I would like to be a life coach in some type of way. Right now I'm focusing a lot on the finances of people, but, just really just helping people become the best versions of themselves, whether it's their finances, whether it's their personal life, whether it's health, something along those lines. And I felt that, in a lot of our meetings, we talk the numbers, we talk the financial plan, we talk everything that goes on. Then it's the side conversations that we have that, have you looked into this to, improve your sleep or improve this to improve your health? And that's really been a fulfilling thing so far in my journey. So just kind of honing in on that as I get knowledge and kind of progress through life.
If I can use that as a shameless plug, you're talking a lot about wellness. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we've been coaching on, frankly, is financial wellness. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about how that plays into some of the other health and wellness conversations that you're having, not only with yourself and friends, but maybe with clients?
I mean, money is such a delicate subject that people get so stressed about it. So, kind of really focusing on that. So if we can do anything on our side of the table that can help ease people in that, then they can really focus on the things that matter to them in their health. Joining a club, getting involved in the community, something like that. If we can take any type of stresses off, I think that's going to really help people down in the long run.
Well, as a financial advisor, I don't gamble, but my money's on you, Co.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Great to have you. Thank you for coming on. That's the fastest 10 minutes of your life, yes?
Absolutely.
Told you, not a big deal. All right. Well, I'd like to thank all of you for listening and watching today. If you enjoy our show, please subscribe so we can continue to be a part of your journey to financial freedom. We'll be back next week with another engaging guest, and in 2 weeks with another entry in our Diary of a Financial Advisor. For now, this is your host, Eric Brotman, reminding you, don't retire, graduate.
Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC. Kestra IS. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Advisory Services, LLC. Kestra AS. An affiliate of Kestra IS. Kestra IS or Kestra AS are not affiliated with Brotman Financial or any other entity discussed.